Welcome back. The China Internet Network Information Center has reported that in 2006, China's internet users grew by 26 million, or 23.4%, to reach 10.5% of the total population. In relation to this announcement, Chinese Communist Party chief Hu Jintao vowed to purify the internet. This sort of rhetoric is normal for China. On July 11, 2001, President Jiang Zemin condemned the spread of pernicious information on the net. According to the Global Business Center at the University of New Haven, over 300,000 Chinese government agents monitored the internet in 2006. According to Open Internet Initiative, a group that studies a variety of countries and how they monitor the internet, China has the most sophisticated internet filtering effort of its kind in the world, calling it, quote, pervasive, sophisticated, and effective, with multiple levels of legal regulation and technical control. In other words, this means the Chinese have many different and independently operable systems of legal censorship. One relies on search engines being filtered by the company itself and the government. Looking up Taiwanese or Tibetan independence, Tiananmen Square, the Dalai Lama, anti-communist movements, or anything that deviates from the party image or doctrine is usually blocked. Self-censorship has never been considered one of the values of the new technology age, but it is required to reach the vast population of China. In that sense, companies have found themselves in a bind when it comes to dealing with the Chinese. Elliot Schrage, Vice President of Global Communications and Public Affairs at Google Inc., testified in front of Congress in early 2006, saying, quote, the requirements of doing business in China include self-censorship, something that runs counter to Google's most basic values and commitments as a company. It's not as though companies are able to publish offline in China either. Although China stopped subsidizing newspapers and magazines in 2003, foreign companies still cannot invest in newspapers and must enter into partnerships or licensing agreements with Chinese firms to publish magazines. On another level, the censorship is in the law as well. One of the many laws on the books reads that one may not use the internet to publish information containing, among other things, quote, material that harms the prosperity and interests of the state, undermines ethnic solidarity, and material that spreads rumors, disturbs social order, or undermines social stability. In the most basic sense, China controls every aspect of the information reaching its citizens. These are not good trends for a country to whom we owe $214 billion, about 25% of our entire deficit. China is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, and as such, a prominent member of the international community must be held to certain standards. The censorship of media is but the tip of the iceberg for Chinese rights violations. All three of the largest internet companies, Google, Microsoft, and Yahoo, have been fiercely criticized by human rights groups for towing China's lines on restrictions of free speech. Irene Khan, the Secretary General of Amnesty International, has cited specific instances like Yahoo providing the Chinese with details leading to the arrest and sentencing of 2 journalists, or Microsoft banning a blog critical of the government and launching a portal blocking the use of words such as freedom and democracy. This stifling of free speech is unacceptable. So why are American companies still working with China? Because people such as Bill Gates and Elliot Schrage want to be influential. They want to corner the market no matter what the costs. Mr. Gates recently commented that he believes information flow is happening in China, though how he can believe that is beyond comprehension. He mentioned a national dialogue taking place. Is he talking about the dialogue Guyan Tone tried to incite when he reported on disgruntled farmers in 2002? Tone was arrested. His trial took place in less than a day, and he has been imprisoned ever since. Perhaps Mr. Gates was talking about Kong Yuping, a leading member of the Chinese Democratic Party and former union activist, who was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment in September for subversion. He had been detained in late 2003 after posting articles on the internet attacking official corruption and urging a reassessment of the 1989 pro-democracy movement. Indeed, the only thing Mr. Gates got right was citing China's attractiveness as a market, because it's predicted to become the biggest user of broadband in the world. Is the cost of doing business in China worth the payoff for these companies? In a constant battle of politics and economics, is it safe or responsible to rely on the Chinese people to somehow get past the free speech blockades their government erects and American businesses support? Should those companies take a stand, sacrificing dollars for values? Perhaps the more important question is not should they, but will they? There are international regulations for businesses and governments. China is not allowed to be a part of the WTO or UN with these kinds of violations. Yet they are. Why? Because everyone is afraid. Afraid to take a stand. Afraid, like Mr. Gates and Mr. Schrage, to lose such a good opportunity. China promises every year to correct its human rights and trade violations, and every year they show little to no progress. The same transgressions are made, the same horrible crimes committed by arms of the state and ignored or even encouraged by their superiors. In his testimony in front of Congress, Elliot Schrage said that, quote, "To put it simply, the internet is transforming China for the better." We all hope he is correct, but let us not ignore the ugly present for visions of a promising future. I'm Michael Gorman, and that was all the news you needed to know.